Welcome to This Is Not a Podcast. It's not exactly a live stream. This is just my thoughts with Rob Markman. And I think that's the name of the show, right? My first video was on Kendrick Lamar's Like That verse. And here we are 2 weeks later with a J. Cole response. The rappers are rapping. This is amazing. I knew with Dreamville Fest coming up, it would be like the perfect opportunity for Cole to put, Kendrick on notice, just to respond. And, hey, I heard that and I had some things to say, right? So he dropped his 12-track project, Might Delete Later. I don't know if we're calling it an album, a mixtape. We know the fall off is coming, but 12-track, Might Delete Later. And on the very last song, titled 7-Minute Drill, Cole shot back at Kendrick, all right? So I'm going to sit with y'all. I'm going to break this verse down, and I'm going to tell you who I think won round one, all right? Like, we're not going to necessarily play it safe here. We're going to be respectful. I didn't do that on my Instagram because there's just not enough room for nuance in 90 seconds. But in this video here, I'm going to tell you who I think won this thing. So the thing I was curious to see with how Cole would approach this is like, what angle was he going to take in his response? On Like That, Kendrick spit, he sent shots at both Cole and Drake. But, he was directly responding to Cole's first person shooter lyric when Cole said, "Love when they argue the hardest MC. Is it K-Dot? Is it Aubrey or me? We the big three like we started the league, but right now I feel like Muhammad Ali." Now, I said this before. I didn't think that was necessarily a diss or a shot when Cole said that on first person shooter. It's a boast. Cole is having a real moment right now. And, it wasn't that dissimilar from Control when Kendrick, beat his chest. I didn't think it was like a diss, but it is competitive, right? And it opens the door for Kendrick to respond. So Kendrick says, motherfuck the big three, it's just big me. And, fuck sneak dissing, first person shooter. I hope they came with 3 switches, right? So, this is how this all sets up. Now, I told y'all in my Like That video that somebody who's very connected to one of those 3 camps, Drake, Cole, Kendrick, had told me that they were talking. They seemed like they were close to doing a collaboration together. And something happened and fell apart. It didn't happen. But I don't know, and this part is speculative on my part. I don't know if that song was first person shooter. I don't know if first person shooter was intended to have all 3 of them on it, but it's a thought in my mind. And again, it's speculative. All I know is that somebody told me, somebody with authority, somebody with close knowledge to the situation who's connected to one of those 3 camps, told me they were talking about doing a song together and it just didn't work out. I wonder if it was first person shooter. All right. So again, as soon as I press play, I'm looking for the angle that Cole's going to take, right? Especially because how close he and Kendrick are or were. They met at the 2010 XXL freshman shoot. I was there. I was working for XXL at the time. Kendrick raps about it on The Heart Part 1. If you listen to that, there's lyrics about him meeting Cole that day. Cole produced High Power on Section 80. They were supposed to do an album together, worked on a few songs, it never dropped. So, again, I'm looking for the angle. These guys know each other quite a bit, right? So we get into 7-minute drill. Cole sets it up with, "I got a phone call. They say that somebody dissing. You want some attention? It comes with extensions." Maybe inspired by Kendrick's gun bars and Like That. There were quite a few gun bars and Like That. Of course, first person shooter is like a gun reference, even though it's a video game reference too. But, and Like That, Kendrick talking about first person shooter, 3 switches. He had the K9 bar aimed at Drake. But, I think this is just an extension of that. So Cole uses a couple of metaphoric gun bars and lines about shots. To me, all par for the course. I don't think anybody believes that this will spill into the street. I can't see it. I hope not. Again, this is all in the spirit of competition. I don't think anybody has it twisted. Just good competition. So Cole gets into his pretty big angle early on when he decided to attack Kendrick's discography and pick it apart, right? And the long gaps in Kendrick's releases. So he says, "I came up in the Ville, so I'm good when there's tension. He's still doing shows, but fell off like The Simpsons." Did The Simpsons fall off? I mean, it's been on since 1989. I think it's the longest running sitcom show ever here in the U.S. at least. I personally haven't watched it in years, but I don't know if you could say The Simpsons, fell off, right? Maybe it's not as good as it used to be. I don't know. If anybody out there is really like a Simpsons aficionado, let me know. But all right, he fell off like The Simpsons. But here's where we get to the shit. He says, "Your first shit was classic. Your last shit was tragic. Your second shit put into sleep, but they gassed it. Your third shit was massive, and that was your prime. I was trailing right behind, and just now I hit mine. Okay, so it's safe to say that Cole isn't counting Section 80 as a Kendrick album, so he's talking about the major label album. So Good Kid, Mad City, classic. I think the whole culture agrees on that. The last one was Mr. Morale, tragic. I like Mr. Morale. I mean, the tragedy was in the drama of the album and the storyline. I liked it, but definitely I think not as good as the other 3 Kendrick albums. So your first shit was classic, your last shit was tragic. So the second one is To Pimp a Butterfly, and Dan was third. So here's the big debate, right? Was To Pimp a Butterfly gas? Like did we gas that album up? To me, that album is classic. You know, I see the narrative online happening right now where people are really debating how good that album really was. So Cole definitely has people debating. And that's what a lot of battling is, right? You take a truth or you take a perceived truth and you pick at it and you angle it against your opponent. And, you know, part of this is about, you know, public perception too, especially in this modern era where social media is. Maybe Jay and Nas didn't have to deal with this as much. You know, KRS and Shan didn't have to deal with this as much. Cannabis and LL didn't have to deal with this as much. But in this era of social media where everybody is reacting and piling on in real time, yeah, you know, Cole does, you know, I get it. He picks that To Pimp a Butterfly, now causes this big debate, and the culture is debating, well, how good was that album really? To me, I still stand on it. I think it was a classic. You know, love Cole, love this competition, but this is not going to change my mind. You know, when you think about To Pimp a Butterfly, you remember how much of an anthem All Right was. King Kunta was a big record. The Tupac interview that wrapped the album was a moment. But more than individual songs, more than moments, you know, that whole album, just the narrative that it weaved, the things that it said, to me, like made it like really ill. You know what I'm saying? You know, but this like attacking Kendrick's discography, right? Okay, it comes from Jay-Z, Takeover, when Jay-Z was versus Nas. It's super reminiscent of that. He even uses some of the same bars but twisted. But, you know, Jay went at Nas on Takeover and said, 4 albums in 10 years I can divide. That's one every, let's say 2. 2 of them shits was due. One was Nah, the other was Illmatic. That's a one hot album every 10-year average. Now, back in that time, Jay was also taking a bit of truth and then angling it, all right? Nas's most recent solo album when Takeover came out was Nostradamus, so that was a huge dip. Like Nostradamus, like we're being real, I love Nas. Nas is one of the goats to me. Nostradamus is my least favorite Nas album ever. I think it's the worst in his discography. So here comes Nas after giving us classics, dropping Nostradamus. It kind of leaves him open for the attack, right? And Jay took that and used that to his favor. You know, it just didn't reach the critical heights that he reached on Illmatic, and it was written, which it was written was a classic too. So Nas also had the QB's Finest compilation out at the time. That wasn't really highly regarded. So Jay just hit that line at the right time and fueled the narrative on Nas, who, again, one of the GOATs, one of the best of all times, but this is battling, right? So it feels like Cole's trying to do the same thing here, but I don't think it works the same, right? If you don't count Section 80, Kendrick still has one of the best 3 album runs ever in hip hop. From Good Kid to Damn, you can argue all 3 of them are classics. I believe so. And Cole's one of the greats too. And I just want to stress, Cole is one of the greats. We are not debating that. But I don't know if he has a discography top to bottom that's better than Kendrick's. I don't know if he has an album better than The Pimp a Butterfly. It's an interesting conversation. So when you start picking apart somebody's discography and then we start looking at Cole's, it's like, well, does it really measure up? You know, I think he kind of opens him up to some criticism. So we'll see if this backfires for Cole or if it works in his favor. You know, the other interesting thing is Cole is saying Dot's albums put us to sleep, when the narrative on Cole up until about 2014 Forest Hills Drive was that he was a boring rapper. Now, I never subscribed to that, but you remember the memes, right? I think Cole has always been one of those ones. I think he's at his peak now, so he's absolutely right where he says he is. He's in his prime. But I'm saying it's just interesting that he takes this angle and kind of, you know, describes To Pimp a Butterfly as sleepy, when that was a knock against Cole for years. He's obviously beat those charges. Again, the most highly regarded lyricist right now. I think every time he drops a verse, we're all wowed by it. But it's interesting that he took that angle. All right, so here's where things get interesting for me, lyrically and just angle wise, right? Right after Cole declares that he's in his prime, he paints Kendrick as jealous. Now he doesn't use those words, but it seems like that's what he's getting at, right? He says, "Your third shit was massive, and that was your prime. I was trailing right behind, and now I just hit mine. Now I'm in front of the line with a comfortable lead. How ironic! Soon as I got it, now he wants something with me." I don't know that Kendrick is jealous of Cole's recent success or if he's just competitive. But here goes Cole taking the truth or a version of the truth and creating a narrative. And to me, I think that's the most interesting part right here. I think this is the most interesting angle to pick at. Like, almost like, yo, what is this guy's problem? Like, he went at Drake. Now I got the top spot. Now he's going at me. To me, I think if there's an angle to pick at, I thought it would be here rather than the discography stuff, right? But Cole continues, "Well, he caught me at the perfect time. Jump up and see. Boy, I got it here off bars, not no controversy. Funny thing about it, bitch, I don't even want the prestige. Fuck the Grammys, because them crackers ain't never done nothing for me." The "got it here off the bars, not no controversy" part to me points to the Kendrick Control verse. And, like that also had a lot of Control energy, right? Control was very controversial. There was seemingly no reason for Kendrick to do Control and cause the stir that he did, other than, I'm talking about from everybody else's perspective looking at Kendrick. Kendrick was just telling his truth on Control to me, like, yo, I'll kill all y'all if I have to. I want all y'all fans. I want to be the best. I want to be the top guy, again, MC shit. But, it was controversial. So I see Cole like, yo, I got it off the bars, not no controversy. I didn't stir up no shit. And for the most part, Cole is right there, right? So then Cole gets into prestige, right? And I think Kendrick has 17 Grammys. Cole has 2, plus Kendrick has the Pulitzer Prize. So Cole stops that talk if anyone even thought of starting it. Now, I don't think Kendrick, in any response, any point in this rap battle, is going to turn it to, "I got more Grammys than you." I just don't see Kendrick taking that angle, but the fan bases would. And again, like I said earlier, social media, the narrative plays so much into how these battles are judged. I think this was like a preemptive move on Cole's part to, once you start comparing about maybe who has more awards or who has more Billboard success or whatever, he kind of stops that where it starts. And that's smart, because I think this battle shouldn't be about this. I agree with Cole. This battle, Grammys don't matter. It's about raps. But then, I don't know if Dot was going there, but, it's a worthwhile preemptive move just to stop the social chatter. And again, like I said, that's what makes battling different in this era than maybe when Jay and Nas had it, or Cannabis and L, or going way back, Big and Pop. Like, social media is so prevalent now. All right, so Cole goes on to continue to talk about how the beef isn't real. He's seen real beef back at home in North Carolina. And then he gets back into his Jay-Z takeover bag when he says, "The rap beef ain't realer than the shit I seen in Cumberland. He's averaging one hard verse like every 30 months or something. If he wasn't dissing, then we wouldn't be discussing him. Lord, don't make me have to smoke this, because I fuck with him. But push come to shove on this mic, I will humble him. I'm Nino with this thing. This that New Jack City meme. Yeah, I'm G Money, crying tears before I bust at him." He's averaging one hard verse every 30 months. Is like when Jay said that's a one hot album every 10-year average. So he's back to that again. If he wasn't dissing, then we wouldn't be discussing them. Again, this is an interesting part to me, saying that Dot has to rely on controversy. Is there something to this? I don't think so. Like, Kendrick, outside of Control, there's a couple of subs, but I don't think Kendrick is an artist that relies on controversy. But again, that doesn't really matter. It's taking the truth. It's taking a little bit of the truth and shifting public perception. So I think this is a good move on Cole's regard. If he wasn't dissing, then we wouldn't be discussing him. I don't think it's true, but he paints it as true, and I think a lot of the fan base will start to agree, right? I wish Cole would get into the psychology of this more, because he knows Dot personally. Okay, so the "Lord don't make me have to smoke him because I fuck with him" part, and the Nino Brown and G Money meme, which is a dope visual. This is the difference between Cole and Kendrick in this battle. To me, Cole's tone is off in this song, right? He sounds reluctant. It's like when you were a kid and there was a bully outside, and you came home, hey ma, this kid is bullying me, and your mother says, well, you better go outside and fuck him up. If you don't, I'm gonna fuck you up. I don't know if that was just me. I don't know if y'all had that experience. That was actually how I got into my first fight at about 6 or 7 years old. So you reluctantly go out there and fight because you ain't want to hear it from your moms. You ain't want to get it from your moms. Like, that beating was a different type of beating. I grew up in a different time. But that's kind of what it seems like to me. It kind of feels like Cole's tone doesn't really sound like he's really willing to go there. If you listen to the whole project, the whole Might Delete Later, I wish Cole had a tone that was closer to the one he had on Crocodile Tears on this song, right? Also, when I'm speaking of tone too, that whole first half of the beat was produced by T Minus, amazing producer. I'm a huge fan of T Minus, right? Hold him in high regard. He did I'm On One, Khaled, Drake, Wayne, Rick Ross, classic. Hell Yeah, Fucking Right for Drake. He did Swimming Pools for Kendrick, Middle Child for Cole. Discography is incredible. Classics. I didn't like this beat for this. Like that first half of the beat, I just felt like didn't fit the tone that was needed to set Cole up for what he was about to say. All right, so now we get to the beat switch. We get to the conductor beat. I like the tone better on the second part of the diss. I like the beat better. I like Cole's tonal shift better on this part. All right, Cole goes off. He gives us some dope bars about what he'll do to anyone who opposes him. Nothing super specific about Kendrick here, but he sets a tone. It's all a setup. Get it in the stretch if I feel the disrespect. Then again, Cole goes back and tells us how he doesn't really want to go there with Dot. And then he gets back into the Jay Nas reference, right? He says, my text flooded with the hunger for a toxic reply. I'm hesitant. I love my brother, but I'm not going to lie. I'm powered up for real. That shit will feel like I'm swatting the fly. 4 albums in 12 years, I could divide. Shit. If this what you want, I'm indulging in violence. And then also how Kendrick switched sides on him when he says, my jack jumping about a rapper making blasphemous sounds, switching sides like the tassel on the cap and the gown. I'm fully loaded. I could drop 2 classics right now. Now, I like the switch sides part. Like, again, these guys were friends. So I just wish Cole would have dove into that more. He kind of gave us the Jay-Z Nas thing and then he revisited again. I thought it was like a redundancy there. I'm really waiting for Cole to get into the psychology of what happened between him and Kendrick, because something happened there. These guys were cool at one point, and there's something there. There's a real feeling there, and maybe we don't get it in this round. This is all just set up, right? But there's something going on, and I want to get into that. I think that's where the power of a Cole response lies. Look, I'm happy that J. Cole responded. I personally believe he's rapping at a top tier level at this point in his career. Obviously, there's more complex lyricists. We always get into the conversation. People be like, Black Thought, the best rapper. Royce the 5'9", the best rapper. The way Daylight is rapping. Like, absolutely. They're like supreme lyricists. And I think Cole could do that too. But I think when we talk about the white hot space of popularity, mass appeal with lyricism, that shit that a mass amount of people like and can get into, but still complex, still displaying like core tenets of what lyricism and hip hop is, total package type shit. Cole is consistently rapping better than everyone at this moment, like hands down. With that being said, round 1, in my opinion, goes to Kendrick. This just feels like a wanted shot from Cole. It feels like Cole was very focused on finishing the fall off, and then Kendrick kind of interrupted his flow and forced him into like this uncomfortable position where he had to respond to something that maybe he wasn't like in the mind frame for at the moment, right? Again, this is not just any rapper. These guys were friends at one point. Maybe they still are friends, or maybe they could still be friends, but it's also very different, I think, when somebody you don't know kind of comes at you and you throw a little shot back and a shot back. I think when there's more of a personal connection, it's a different type of emotional preparedness thing that you go to. When Cole kind of raps about that with the G Money and Nino line, and he says a couple times on the record, like, I don't want to have to do this, but I really love you, but I will if I have to. That's the part I want to get into for Cole. I think that's where he wins is the psychology, the heart, the disappointment of all of this. But, you know, with that being said, round one goes to Kendrick in my mind. I don't think it was anything specifically ill that Kendrick said about Cole. You know, a lot of it, again, was just set up. There was nothing damaging. There was nothing revealing. There was nothing hurtful that's going to ruin Cole's career or nothing like that. But the energy that he brought on like that, you know, it just felt like, hey, I'm the top guy. I want that spot. And I'm going to go through great lengths to prove it. And stop me if you can, you know what I'm saying? And it feels like Cole jumped out kind of reluctantly. I also think the angle of comparing the albums wasn't the move, because I think Kendrick has a better discography than Cole. And, you know, look, Cole has a great discography. I would kill to have Cole's discography. Rappers would kill to have Cole's discography and Cole's success. So we're talking about two of the top guys. I never wanted to make it twisted where you criticize one and it's like, hey, I like this guy's discography better. And then it's like we assume that the other guy is dirt. No, we're talking about two of the top guys. But I think Dot just had a special run. Even if he doesn't drop frequently, Dot has had one of the more impressive album runs that we've seen in hip hop history. We often talk about Outkast's album run. I think Kendrick is up there with that. Ultimately, I think this is just round one, but if I'm scoring it, I'm scoring it for Kendrick. You know, let's also not forget Drake has to respond to this. Drake absolutely has to respond. So we'll see what that is. I don't know. These are just my thoughts. These are subjective, but I try to keep it balanced, right? Like I try to, like, this is not like a stand talking. Like I try to base how I feel in something, but these are just my thoughts. So let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments. You know, I'll be back and forth in the comments with y'all. And, you know, I'm right here with y'all. And to the next one. All right. Peace.